bullish or bearish. Whether you're a rookie trader or a rock star, we believe there's room for everyone. Every Filipino can learn how to trade. We're just your average Joe. But together, let's take advantage of the greatest equalizer of wealth ever, the stock market, where millions can be made and lost in a click of a finger. The journey to trading mastery is a lifetime, and we're here to stay. We are ZFT, and this is where the hot money is.
Ayan, naririnig ba ako? Clear lang ba yung audio natin? Okay. Sige, ano muna natin? Shoutout muna natin sino-sino yung nandito. Ayan, mga from TIP Batch 4. Always present sa sessions natin. Di ba kayo nagsasawa sa boses ko? Every other day nagmi-meet tayo, tapos pati Sunday magkikita pa talaga tayo, no? Kahit araw-araw pa talaga nakaka-touch naman. Ano pa yung mga nandito? Ayan, sina mostly from latest na TI batch to, We have people from Blueprint, Sir Patrick, Sir, ano to? Japes, tama ba? Yung pronunciation ko. Sir June. Mukhang wala dito yung mga mga ibang leaders. I think na medyo nagpahinga dahil sa mga sessions kanina, no? P. Japes. Ayan. P. Japes pala. Ayos yung name natin, sir. Very unique. Okay, so sige, simulan natin to. Sino dito yung first time na mag-attend ng Ask ZFT podcast? Meron ba? We have first timers here, like from the latest batch. Ay, si Ma'am Cheryl. Okay, welcome, Ma'am.
Magandang gabi po.
Ayan, magandang gabi. Si Sir Patrick Tibayan from Blueprint, first time. Ano yan, sir? Dahil kakapasok nyo lang sa TR? Tama ba? Or...
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Kakapasok nyo lang. Okay. So, this week lang kayo pumasok. Ayan, sa mga first-timers natin here, lahat ng podcast natin is naka-record siya. And you can have access to the previous session sa Spotify. So, just search for Hot Money sa Spotify app nyo. Nandun yung mga previous episodes. I would suggest na panoorin nyo yung about finding your niche. Yun yung isa sa mga most listened sessions natin. Tapos yung mental wallet. Ayan, yung dalawang sessions na yan. Those are life-changing, sabi ng iba. Okay, and for tonight, meron tayong panibagong session. And I have entitled this as The War of Hearts and Minds. Actually, itong title na to, it's not from me. It's actually a title of a song. Ewan ko kung alam niyo yung song na to. Pero this was one of the songs that remind me of my high school days. It's a song by Bamboo. Kilala niyo si Bamboo? Hindi yung si Bamboo na singer, pero that time nasa banda pa siya. So kinanta niya yung song na to. And isa to sa mga favorite songs ko, guys, kasi it showed me na most of the time, especially in making decisions, yung always na naglalaban is yung utak mo, okay, the logical, rational self, and your heart, which is more on the emotional and emotive part ng natin, ng decision making natin. So when we do trading and when we do executions, di ba parang ganun din yung nangyayari sa atin? Okay? It's not surprising that most traders find it hard to execute their plan, even if, let's say, nag-aral ka na and you invested in a lot of knowledge by enrolling in programs and looking at the charts. You know how the patterns work. Pero at the end of the day, once nandun ka na sa trade na yon, ang nangyayari is hindi mo ma-execute yung plano mo and hindi mo masunod-sunod yung rules mo. And if you're wondering why that's the case, it's almost always because yung emotions mo bypass your logical and rational self. Okay? So, I think that's something that all of us can relate to. Even ako, no? People think na just because I'm very detailed when it comes to my rules, sa mga numbers. Okay, I'm most of the time people label me inside TR as yung person na grabe when it comes to risk management. Pero I'm also guilty of the same mistakes that you do, guys. Okay? And it's not a rare instance for me. Like every single trading day, it's a struggle sa part ko to make sure na masunod ko yung plano ko instead of just following what I feel. So tonight, ito yung gusto kong gawin natin sa mga nandito. Um, it would help if you ask questions about this matter para maano yung discussion natin. So if you have experiences or may mga struggles ka when it comes to your decision making as a trader, especially on this matter, you can open up and hopefully lahat ng nandito kung ano man yung mai-share ng mga kapwa citizens natin, hindi siya lalabas or if ever ilalabas nyo siya, at least dito lang man din sa atin. No? But for the purpose of learning from others' experiences. Okay, so para maano lang, simulan ko with myself. I grew up a very emotional person. Ang problem lang sa akin is, even if I'm emotional, I do not usually show it outright. Okay? Kumbaga, I try to suppress it inside of myself. Kasi, meron akong fear na if ever I express it, hindi siya maintindihan ng mga tao. And that fear of expressing myself, it became both a strength and a liability at the same time. I think many of you na introverted or yung mga reserved persons here, you can relate to what I'm trying to say. So if you can relate, sabihin nyo naman sa chat or sa comments ba na parang yes, nakaka-relate. Para at least hindi ko ma-feel na ako lang yung, ako lang yung ganun, no? So anyway, that's how I was, that's how I approach or yun yung naging ano ko, yun yung naging parang upbringing ko as a person. And when I started to trade, I noticed na it's that trait of suppressing everything that eventually backfires. Okay, I'm not saying na it's nag-backfire siya in a very damaging way, yung tipong parang because of that I lost a lot of money. Kasi masabi ko yung journey ko when I started and when I lost money in the process, it wasn't really because of me failing to control my emotions. It's really because of me failing to create a system that works. Kumbaga, it's more of a factor of ignorance. Okay, kasi wala akong alam and I thought marami akong alam. That's why I lost money. So, hindi talaga masyado naging factor um, yung ganong trait ko na sinusuppress ko yung emotions ko or I fail to acknowledge na there is a struggle or a battle between what I think or how I think versus how I feel. It only came out when I started to gain consistency. Doon siya pinakalumabas and I find that interesting kasi akala ko before, the moment you become a little bit consistent, like medyo gets mo na yung trading and alam mo na how to trade, it would be easier for you to manage your emotions. Or it would be easier for you to manage the struggle versus or the struggle between your heart and your mind. Pero yun pala yung pinaka glaring battle na pwede mong pagdaanan once you find a little bit of success in this game. And let me explain why. When you start to do it right, okay, kumbaga parang meron ka ng system, meron ka ng niche, okay, alam mo na kung ano yung right process of trading, yung dating desire mo to know more is medyo nawawala na siya eh. Kumbaga now, instead of acquiring knowledge or instead of learning more about the markets, ang nagiging goal mo na is to improve yourself. Okay? To improve how you think and to improve your mindset when it comes to losses, when it comes to gains. Okay, you want to achieve that kind of state wherein you are emotionally detached from the result of your trades. And I know many of you can relate to this kasi lagi namin tong sinasabi sa inyo when you ask about trading, right? So, subukan mo talaga na when you trade, dapat you trade your process, hindi ka dapat ma-attach sa pera kasi if you do that, that would compromise you. Okay? So, ganun yung nagiging ano natin, training within TR. Pero that's just the first part of the first part of the challenge towards consistency. Yung next part na ma-experience nyo eventually is when it comes to managing your decisions the moment you become a little bit emotional and iba na yung sinasabi ng utak mo sa sinasabi ng feelings mo. Okay? So when you start to become consistent and people around you begin to notice na, uy, parang medyo gumagaling na si ganito medyo kumikita na siya to trading. That's the time na you will begin to see yourself as parang, oo nga no, gumagaling na ako no, parang okay na yung trading ko. And the moment you begin to see it that way, dun siya medyo nagiging dangerous na. Okay? Nagiging dangerous siya kasi you feel na okay na yung mind mo. Kumbaga, you no longer have to deal so much about the previous struggles na meron ka nung natatalo ka pa. And dahil hindi mo na yun masyado pinoproblema, ang nangyayari na is you begin to focus more or you begin to see more ano yung problema, not with your mind but with your heart. Okay, as cliche or as corny as that might sound, pero that's really the journey towards consistency. And yun nga no, dun na highlight yung upbringing ko of suppressing what I feel. Na akala ko, again, I thought it won't hurt my trading so much. But recently, nakikita ko no na I've become very reserved and I've become siguro yung tamang term is I somewhat forgot how to empathize, parang ganun. Kasi pag nagte-trade tayo, 'di ba, it's almost always about detachment. So ang nangyayari is yung ganong mindset, nadadala mo siya in your real life scenario, which again is very different, okay, because the market is a probabilistic environment. You're not dealing with people there. You're just dealing with buy and sell parameters and so on and so forth. So kailangan objective ka talaga. And then you shift that environment into a real life scenario. Tapos dala-dala mo yung ganong detachment. Napaka-challenging niya. Sometimes it can be damaging. Okay, so honestly at this point, I'm in the process of dealing with that. Yung how to make sure na hindi magbabangga yung how I think as a trader and how I feel as a person. Okay, is that making sense to people here sa mga nakikinig sa akin? So, I'm wondering if some of you have the same challenge or the same struggle. Anyone who can also like siguro shed light on this matter when it comes to trading? Or wala bang gustong mag-share or maybe ask about it? So kasi this is more of a live Q&A. So yun yung context natin. Okay, kaya naisip ko na ito yung pag-usapan natin for tonight. So, yun, do you have like questions or anything that you would like to ask about this? I-silent muna yung medyo maingay yung Discord. Okay, mukhang wala. So gusto niya lang makinig. Okay, so ayun, maybe I can share also how I'm dealing with that. So at this point, I would say na ang way ko of dealing with this struggle is more about parang tina-try ko siyang, how do I put it? I'm trying to focus more on telling myself na trading is more or less, trading is always about being objective. Okay, so ini-improve ko ngayon yung ano ko, my rules. I'm starting to revisit again yung mga setups na ginagawa ko. Like recently, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to master a different type of trading. Kasi gusto ko parang maibalik ko sa sarili ko yung challenge that I'm not yet as good as I want to be. Okay? Kasi the moment na naging comfortable ako and nakita ko ganyan na okay na ako when it comes to trading, doon ko mas nararamdaman yung mga bagay na kailangan kong improve sa self ko. And that may not necessarily be a bad thing. Kasi it's good, 'di ba, na through trading nadi-discover mo kung ano yung dapat mong improve with yourself or with how you manage your emotions. But I don't want na because of that, ma-compromise yung trading ko. So, ganun yung ginagawa ko, no? Like, recently, I'm trying to learn swing trading. As a momentum trader, that's a very challenging task. See, that means na kung dati, purely breakout trader lang ako, kailangan I know how to buy on supports. I also know how to identify supports, which is dati parang sobrang struggle yan sa akin. Believe it or not, no, like I've been trading for almost 6 years now. Almost 6 years now. Pero because I focus too much on one niche, yung other profiles medyo hindi ko siya gets in a way. So yun yung tina-try kong explore now. Para lang mabalik yung challenge sa akin, challenge sa mind ko to learn something new. So there's that. And then recently din, because I'm trying to learn new strategies or new profiles, I'm also doing a lot of backtesting. So bumalik ako sa backtesting process. Yan, sa mga nasa ano ngayon, nasa TIP. Nandun yung topic namin. So ang ginawa ko recently doon sa module for backtesting sa mga hindi nakakaalam is I revisited it and marami akong dinagdag, binawasan. Kasi gusto ko siyang, kumbaga hindi ko gusto na may matutunan lang yung student. I also want to learn something while I teach it. So yun, parang sinabihan ko sila how to backtest. And at the same time, I also went again through the process of backtesting something para lang I can give something of value or something new to those who are there in that program. So yun, so backtesting, learning new profiles. And also I'm learning something about I'm learning a new market, which is crypto. So sa mga crypto traders diyan, alam niyo naman siguro how difficult the crypto market is in terms of time management, 'di ba? Kasi 24/7 siya. And also in terms of ano siguro, in terms of strategy kasi sobrang iba niya with how you trade the local market, right? Time frames are different. Siguro yung setups kailangan mo lang i-tweak ng konti. Pero yung pinaka-challenge talaga is really more on the schedule part. So all of these things, yung driving force ko behind was just to emphasize sa sarili ko na when I trade, I need to focus more or I need to accept na it's always about trading with the mind, okay? Trading objectively. And whatever emotional detachment na I was able to master, I mean, not fully master, but nakasanayan ko. I got used to being emotionally detached in trading. Hindi ko dapat yun madala with my personal self. Okay, so ganun yung naging course of action ko with that problem. Okay, so with that in mind, what about the emotional emotional aspect of trading? Kasi di naman natin yun maalis-alis, di ba? So if you're someone, okay, you're someone who is having trouble in dealing with this battle, ano yung advice ko sa inyo? Okay, maybe the first thing that you can do is really try to frame trading. Okay, yung tingnan mo yung trading as just a means. Okay, because most traders, the moment they discover trading, they think of it as like it's the savior, or yun yung parang mag-save sa kanila from all their pain points in their life right now. I'm not sure if that's the case for most people here, but I can safely assume na siguro majority of you, ganun yung tingin nyo sa trading. Like, ito yung magbibigay sa akin ng financial freedom, and because I have financial freedom, I can do everything that I want. And that includes providing for myself, providing for my family, and alam mo yun, like escaping a job. And that is what makes trading very emotionally charged, in my opinion. Kasi the moment name mo yung trading as that, as something that can save you, that's the time na talagang mahaluan siya ng both the logical, rational aspect and the emotive aspect. And once again, pag nag-battle yung dalawa na yan, napakahirap, right? So yun, frame trading just as a means. Ibig sabihin din yan is, you don't need to treat trading as if it's the it's something that will solve all your problems. Because honestly, coming from someone who trades and coming from someone who teaches other people how to trade, it's not the case. It won't solve your problems. Maybe not agad-agad. Okay? It's not trading by itself that will solve all your problems. In fact, what trading will do is it will reveal problems that you are not even aware of before. Okay? So that includes problems with how you think, problems with how you feel, maybe even problems with how you relate with people or how people relate to you. Okay, na ano nyo ba yun? Na-experience na ba yung, syempre I know, na-experience na to, na dahil sa trading or dahil you're now someone who wants to master trading, bigla mong na-identify or bigla mong nakilala kung sino ba or ano ba yung mga bagay or tao who really value what you do, or who really see you as someone who wants to achieve something in life. Okay, so that can be very personal to many people, pero that's the case. Okay? So we don't want kasi no na early on in your career as traders, ang magiging problem nyo or ang magiging parang reason why you won't make it is just because you failed to address this battle. Or you failed na i-resolve yung struggle between how you feel and how you think. Ayaw natin yun. So that's the first step. Okay? Frame trading as just a means. The second step or the second advice that I can give for people who have this challenge is this. The moment you find a little bit of success, okay? Like nakikita mo na, uy, I'm already doing the right thing, tapos may resulta na. Never think na you're already in the safe zone. Okay? Kasi yan din yung isa sa mga problems why some people na andun na sana sila sa pagiging consistent. Okay? Kumbaga nakatapak na sila doon sa they already crossed the line from being inconsistent to being consistent. So first few steps doon sa stage of being consistent, iniisip na nila agad na parang finally tapos na, parang eto na, nandito na yung resulta. Okay? Kasi again, the moment you do that, magiging emotionally charged na naman yung trading sa inyo. Kasi now, you begin to see trading as something na, okay, dahil successful na ako, pwede ko na tong gamitin to help other people in a way na parang ma-solve yung problems nila. Like siguro what you'll be doing is sasabihin mo na sige mag-ano na ako, mag-full time na ako, or I'll resign from my job kasi okay na, nakikita ko na yung resulta. Or maybe what you'll do is you'll promise people around you na ito na talaga, ito na mama, ito na papa, na nakikita ko na yung resulta. So hang in there lang kasi magiging ano na, magiging mayaman na tayo. So parang gano'n. Now, it's not entirely wrong 'no, na parang you promise people kasi nakikita mo na may results ka na. And it's not even wrong to celebrate, with yourself na medyo may results na. Yung mali lang is yung having the chance of tasting the first few drops of consistency, and then biglang yun yung magiging basis mo of making big decisions, big emotionally charged decisions na if you think about it, it's not really that objective. Okay, gets niyo ba yun? So, ang kailangan niyong gawin is once you find or once you cross from inconsistency to consistency, dapat yun yung time na mas idoble mo yung effort mo in preserving that state. O yung hindi ka na babalik doon sa pagiging inconsistent. And in order for you to preserve that state, dapat wala ka munang parang anything na papalitan with your lifestyle or how you deal with trading. Okay? So that means na hindi mo dapat yun parang biglang gamitin as something to change something very significant with your life. I mean, sa akin lang personal ano ko lang to, personal advice ko lang. Kasi that can be the reason kung bakit biglang hindi ka na naman or biglang babalik ka na naman or magba-backfire yun sa'yo. Okay, the reason why ganun yung advice ko is I was able to experience that kind of scenario in the past. Okay? Ang nangyari sa akin was nung 2017, for some reason, I was able to recover all my losses. It was, in hindsight, no, masabi ko it was out of luck. Because 2017 was a really strong bull run sa PSE. And I happened to be in the right names, the right companies. And yun, nabawi ko yung talo ko. And I started thinking na if nabawi ko yung talo ko just like after less than a year of trading, more or less, sabi ko siguro okay na to. Okay, kasi naka-reset na ako eh. Siguro okay na to. So, I made a lot of big changes. Big changes in a way na parang, yun, parang nalagyan ng konting emotions yung state na yun. Na porket nabawi ko lang yung talo ko, parang ganito na yung naging tingin ko sa sarili ko, and I promised people a lot of things. And eventually, I failed that promise. Kasi na-realize ko na, hindi pa pala. Okay? And throughout the latter part of 2017 up to the early part of 2018, so may mga siguro 6 to 7 months period yun, I vacillated from being consistent to inconsistent to consistent. So parang ang naging ending is nabawi ko yung talo ko, pero natalo na naman ako ng malaki. Then nabawi ko na naman siya, and then natalo na naman ako ng malaki. And so on and so forth. Until I said stop. Okay, something is wrong. So nung in-identify ko and I tried to reflect on it, na-realize ko na yung naging mali doon is, ayun parang bigla kong pinalitan yung mindset ko eh. Parang porket nabawi ko lang yung talo ko, bigla na akong naging umiba na. Kumbaga yung how I think and how I feel about trading. And that created the struggle again. Yung struggle na pinaka-iniiwasan ko before, it became more apparent because of that. So yun, literally, after the first quarter of 2018, if you still remember that quarter, sa mga nagte-trade na that time, it was the time during the telco serye, yung mga nagsisiling sina Now, si Heaven, etc. People were making lots of money in the ZFT. Wala pa ako sa ZFT that time. So, nakikita ko lang sa mga mentors, ganun. They earned millions during that phase. And here I was, losing. I was down 20-25% of my year to date that time. And hindi ko siya parang at some point hindi ko siya matanggap to the point na I needed to say to myself na tama na muna, hindi muna ako magte-trade. So I did not trade siguro for 1 week, if I'm not mistaken. Complete purge. I did not even look at the charts. And okay lang kasi during that time, yun din yung time around first week of February na bumabagsak na yung mga lumilipad eh. Same with what happened this year. Diba, January was really a month full of bull momentum, like ceilings and all of those high rally stocks, no? So yun, nag-refrain ako from trading. And then, pinalitan ko. Okay, bumalik ako ulit doon sa original mindset ko, which allowed me to break even. And that was simply to look at trading as a means. And look at trading as just a way for me to improve my process. So, dun ko din na-realize na I wasn't really born to become a trend follower. So, sobrang daming sobrang daming enlightenment na nangyari sa akin during that time. So, I stopped forcing trend following with myself kasi nakita ko na hindi talaga yun yung para sa akin. Then, I started focusing on momentum trading. And then, instead of being forced, like literally forced by people to go full-time, kasi sabi nila, "Oh, yun magaling ka na, full-time ka na," gano'n. So yun kasi yung yun yung parang trend back then, 2017, 2018, like being a full-time trader was like the epitome of being a successful trader. Parang 'pag hindi ka full-time, hindi ka successful. Parang gano'n yung na-inculcate na mindset or belief back then. So I stopped listening to that. So more or less parang yung ginawa ko ay focus on a different profile and I just retained kung ano yung status ko. So I did not quit my job. In fact, ang ginawa ko is mas nag-hustle pa ako with my other jobs. So I was teaching back then. I was doing a lot of seminars with schools. Tapos pumasok ako sa isang accounting firm dito sa amin for extra income. So, ayun, and to cut the long story short, when I change, or not change, but when I retained yung how I originally thought of trading, it was the reason bakit mas naging consistent and mas naging successful yung journey ko. And it really shortened the learning curve on my end. Isipin nyo, no, it's very ironic na dahil mas tiningnan ko yung trading as a means, okay? Dahil mas sinabi ko sa sarili ko na I need to create safety nets first and not really go fully, alam mo yun, yung fully emotionally charged when it comes to trading and see it as something that can save me. Yun pa yung naging pivotal moment ko to the point na trading in a way saved me. Na ngayon pag iniisip ko siya parang nakakatawa siya kasi 'di ba when the COVID pandemic happened and then nag-lockdown, so literally wala, I lost my work back in March last year. Pero dahil na-establish ko yung safety nets at dahil um, it allowed me to enhance my skills in trading, I was able to use trading and like save me from not having any sort of income during that time. And yun, pag inisip ko siya, it was because I acknowledge na this war between the rational mind and the emotional part of us as traders is always there. And dahil lagi siyang nandyan, kailangan mong hanapan ng way para ma-resolve siya. Every day yan. The moment you are in the market. Okay. So I'd also like to talk about more on the actual execution side of things. Kasi doon kasi mas na-highlight din yung ano na to eh, no? Yung battle na to. Okay? Before every trading day, ano ba yung ginagawa natin? Or kayo, ano ba yung ginagawa niyo? Hopefully, ang ginagawa nyo is you plan for your trades, right? You plan based on the rules and the system that you created or you learned. So, through the planning phase, okay? When you are planning for your trades, is it parang ganito, no? Kasi ito na-experience ko before eh. Pag nagpaplano ako sa trade ko, meron akong parang iniisip na reason kung bakit gusto ko yung trade na to is manalo. It's not wrong naman to expect a trade to win. In fact, gusto natin yung lahat, 'di ba? Na yung mga nasa watchlist mo, yun yung gagalaw. Pero we are sometimes pag hindi tayo careful, ang nangyayari sa atin is we plan and then we create expectations doon sa trades mo with reasons that are again emotionally charged. Okay, let me give you an example. Merong isang trader na nag-consult sa akin. I think it was 2019. Okay, ano siya, office mate siya ng girlfriend ko. So, etong tao na to, he was in CHP. Okay, he was doing averaging down sa CHP from the IPO time hanggang sa nag-downtrend na lang siya. Okay? So, itong tao na to, lumapit siya sa girlfriend ko and wanted to seek advice from me. So, sabi ko, sige, pwede kaming mag-usap. So, nung nagkausap kami, ito yung sabi niya sa akin. Okay? Gusto niya daw matuto mag-trade. Sabi ko, okay, good. So, ano ba yung strategy mo sa trading? So, sabi niya, okay, nag-learn daw siya about technicals. He started reading about supports and resistances. Tapos, member din kasi siya ng TRC. So, nung time kasi na nilabas yung CHP, di ba, ano yan, parang, it's not really hype up, pero parang isa siya sa mga recommended stocks na pag-investan, puno, during that time. So, sinunod niya lang din yun. Pero even if ganun yung naging decision making niya doon sa stock na yun, na parang out of recommendation, hindi yun yung parang nakita kong problem. Okay? Obviously, it's a problem, but it's not the main problem. Nasabi niya sa akin na gusto niyang gawin yon kasi daw, okay, makinig kayo. He wants to give, iba yung term na ginamit niya. Basta gusto niya magbigay ng parang dream wedding sa wife niya. Incoming wife, sa fiancé niya pala. So ngayon, kasal na sila eh. So, yun yung gusto niyang maging parang reason behind investing in that stock. And that struck me in a way kasi here is someone who wants how to trade and it's this person is a very smart person kasi nasa bank eh. Ano siya, ang position niya doon is isa siyang ibang tawag dyan, RA, like relationship associate. Yung you talk with clients na gustong kumuha ng loan. So he gets how the market works. Okay, he does a lot of research. Tapos willing siyang matuto ng technicals. Hindi naman niya pag-aaralan yung mga supports resistances or hindi siya mag-i-invest sa pagiging member ng TRC if hindi yun yung ano niya, no? Hindi yun yung parang commitment or capacity niya. Pero all of that did not matter because of that reason. Kung bakit gusto niyang manalo yung trade na yun. And you'd say na wala namang problema sir doon sa reason niya. That's a valid reason. In fact, kahit ako, nagtitrade ako kasi gusto ko ganito yung maibigay ko sa family ko. Pero once that becomes the highlight, immediately, trading becomes like, again, it becomes a savior sa part mo. And once it happens, ito na, yung war of hearts and minds. Magkakaroon na naman ng struggle between the rational mind and the emotional self. So yun, and yung naging advice ko sa kanya, it was very simple. Sabi ko, how many % ka na ba down dyan sa CHP? Sabi niya, nasa 30% down na siya. So more or less parang nasa 300,000 natin pinasok. So mga almost 100K losses. Sabi ko sa kanya, you know what, liquidate the loss. Okay? Once you liquidate the loss, talk to your girlfriend or talk to your special someone. Sabihin mo sa kanya ano yung nangyari. Okay? Explain mo sa kanya why you need to take the loss. And tell it to yourself, forgive yourself as well na yung original reason kung bakit mo yan trinade in the first place is not a good reason per se at that point. Okay, after that advice, hindi na niya ako binalikan. I was waiting for him to message me kasi sabi ko sa kanya, once na liquidate mo, balikan mo ako kasi I would share a lot of references sa'yo kung saan ka mag-start para matutunan mo to ng tama. Hindi na niya ako binalikan, guys. And I'm not sure if sinunod niya yung advice ko. Pero guessing from what happened after, feeling ko hindi. And that's a sad thing for me. Kasi again, sayang. 'Di ba? Sayang siya in a way na parang in his mind, he thought na he was doing the right thing. He was having the right reasons for trading that stock or trading it the way he traded it. Pero yun pala mali. So yun, going back no sa planning part. When you plan for your trades, be really observant or aware. Yan, tama. Yung aware. Be aware of why you want to trade something. Is it because okay siya, technically speaking? Or is it because you're following your rules? Or is there something else there that is charging that plan in a way na hindi mo siya ma-execute ng objectively? Okay? So that's more on the planning side. Now, once you have that in place, okay, once na yung planning process mo is really as objective as possible, hindi siya influenced by any external factors or any emotionally charged narratives or any emotions, ganun. Parang just pure objective planning based on your system. Here comes the execution. Okay, so dito na naman. This is another aspect of trading na lalabas na naman tong battle na to. Okay, so while you are executing your plan, a lot of things can happen. Number one, you'd hesitate. Okay, why would you hesitate? Well, maraming factors. Siguro kasi pinano mo, hindi mo naman binaktest, hindi mo alam kung gumagana ba talaga yan or hindi. So, at the point of decision making, you begin to doubt yourself. So that's one. Hindi natin yan pag-usapan kasi ibang topic din yan eh. But the other reason is you begin to doubt or you'd start to not follow what you've planned. Because again, naalala mo na naman yung mga yung mga attachments mo doon sa trade na yon, which causes you to it causes you to not do it the right way. Okay? So how do you address that? Kasi nandun na yun eh. Nasa moment of execution ka na. Paano mo ma-address yun? The short answer to that is you can't at that point of execution. Kasi marirealize mo na lang siya after. Like, hindi nyo ba yung napapansin na during market hours, parang napaka tense mo. Okay, you're very tense. You're holding your breath. Tapos ano pa yung mga signs na nandoon ka sa battle na ganito, yung war of hearts and minds. So you're tense, you're holding your breath. You're looking at things na hindi mo naman kailangan tingnan, whether in the charts or somewhere else. Tapos you begin to parang almost like hindi mo alam kung paano mag-trade. Parang gets mo siya during the planning and then the market hours, it's like it's the first time you open your broker or it's the first time you look at charts. So those are manifestations of this struggle. Then surprisingly or not surprisingly, after the market hours, tapos tiningnan mo na what went through the day and you journalize, napansin mo na Bakit ngayon na wala na ako sa market, parang sobrang klaro sa akin, sobrang objective kung ano yung kailangan kong gawin. Tapos titingnan mo, dapat hindi pala ako bumili dito sa level na 'to kasi too late na or hindi na siya optimal sa akin. Or dapat pala hindi ako nagbenta kasi hindi pa pala tinamaan yung trail stop ko. But you ended not buying or you ended selling too early. And again, that's because of this battle. You again allowed your emotions, you again allowed your um yung mga external factors to decide on how to execute. Okay? So, hindi ko exactly, I mean, I cannot really fully advise people on this matter kasi hindi naman ako psychologist and I'm not even someone who deals with this in a way na sobrang flawless. Kasi I experience it almost every day din. But here's what I know about this. Okay? During execution, the only thing that should matter is your plan. Okay? Kaya nga sinasabi nila, no plan, no trade. So the only thing that should matter is your plan. And of course, your system. So anything outside of that, and that includes your whys, that includes for whom you do this trading, or ano yung reasons mo for yourself, why you want to trade in the first place. And even siguro TR community. Like sometimes ang ano natin, ang parang driving force natin para mag-trade tayo ng maayos is kasi gusto mo ipakita sa AG mo or gusto mo ipakita sa mga mentors and coaches mo na ginagawa mo yung tamang process. Hindi yung ba yan na hindi yung ba na feel? Or hindi ba kayo guilty of that? Na kasi kaya gusto mong gumaling mag-trade kasi you want to show people, you want to parang for the sake of camaraderie parang gano'n. Na si yung ka-AG ko parang ganito siya mag-trade. Sige. Para ma-inspire sila, 'di ba? Para ma-inspire sila kailangan ma-execute ko 'to ng tama. Again, nothing is wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with that if gano'n mo siya iniisip outside of the execution part. Okay, but when you are executing, it's only about your plan, nothing else. Okay? Kung ano man yung parang gusto mong isama diyan na reason that will somewhat give you more passion or inspire you further to do better, huwag mo yung isama sa execution. I mean, that's just me, Okay, so just focus on your plan. Bibili ka kasi yun yung sabi sa plano mo. Magbebenta ka kasi yun yung sabi sa plano mo. May naiintindihan ba yun? And lastly, okay, sabi ko, maiksi lang yung natin. Wala namang QA, wala namang question. So, ako na lang yung magsasalita. So, last but not the least. So, planning, execution. What happens after execution? After execution, you need to, di ba, journalize your trades. You need to document para matutunan mo. Every trade is an opportunity to learn something. To learn something not only about yung kulang sa system mo or yung kulang doon sa rational or logical side of trading, but also to learn something about your emotions and how you feel nung time na ine-execute mo siya. Okay? Kaya ito yung always na advice ko sa mga traders when they journal. Kasi akala nila yung journal in trading is like journal of numbers. No? Yung para makuha mo yung stats mo and all of those metrics. Okay lang yun. Syempre, kailangan mo yun para sa edge mo. But if you're starting, dapat i-journal mo din yung struggle na to. Ito. Specifically yung struggle mo with how you feel or how you felt nung execution. So yung iba nga, yung ginagawa nila, I know a mentor, ang ginagawa niya is, meron siyang, sa journal niya, meron siyang columns ng lahat ng emotions na pwede niyang ma-feel while trading. So nandun yung fear, hesitation, etc., etc. And every trade, ang ginagawa niya is nire-rate niya yung self niya when it comes to that emotion. Okay? So 1 to 10. Sa mga users ni Minerva, makikita nyo meron dong trade rating, right? So isang column lang. How would you rate this trade? Sa latter part, meron din doong column wherein how you felt or ano yung nananaig na emotions for that particular trade. So dito sa mentor na to, iba. Talagang per emotion, i-rate niya per trade. And at the end of, let's say, 50, 100 trades, makikita niya yung average, okay? Yung average ng emotional score niya for all his trades. And he draws insight from that. Na kung nakita niya, uy, at the end of 50 trades, yung fear ko is rated 9 out of 10. So, grabe yung fear niya sa trading. So, tina-troubleshoot niya yun. Okay? For me, that's a very good practice, especially for new traders. Yun na, mentor level na, ganun yung ginagawa niya. So, for new traders, I would suggest na gawin nyo yun. You can keep a separate journal. So, if you're using Minerva or you're using other journals na purely numbers-based lang, keep a separate journal and try to document those things. So, think of it as if you're really writing a journal, like literal na journal or parang diary per trade. Ano yung na-feel mo? Itong trade na to, I felt na nung nag-execute ako, bigla akong naisip, ganito, ganyan. And that was my reason why I hesitated. So now you know na, uy, pag ganun pala, itong ano na to, itong person or itong bagay na to, it causes me to not execute properly. So kailangan mong isipin na while executing, you need to be aware of that person or that thing. Para the moment it comes out, you know how to deal with it. Hindi dapat. I need to focus on my plan. Okay? And once you have all that data, you will see patterns din. Okay, di ba sa ano natin, sa trading metrics natin, okay, the rational way of approaching trading, like in terms of numbers and averages, there's a pattern. Like, yung average ko is 8%. Dapat 10% to. So how can I improve my 8% average gain to 10% average gain? Okay, so may pattern. Ganun din sa emotions. Okay, there's a pattern. In fact, sabi nga nila, di ba? When you look at the charts, you're not looking at numbers. You're looking at the emotions of people. Emotions of people quantified or translated into numbers. So essentially, trading is really about understanding emotions. If you really think about it, it's not really about the technicals. Yung technicals, it was just a way to quantify those emotions using charts. Okay, which makes sense, right? Kasi, sino ba yung nagpa-participate sa market? These are people, right? And sabi ko nga, recently I tweeted about this, pero ang ginamit kong context is more on the politics side of things. So sabi ko kasi doon, most of our leaders, especially the good leaders, they don't know how the game works. Sabi ko ganyan. They don't know that what wins elections are not platforms or not credentials. It's about emotions. As disappointing as that might sound, pero yun ganun yung nature of decision making ng general masses eh. If you appeal to their emotions, if you understand how they feel, if you understand their pain points, and you can integrate that in their platform, or they can integrate that in their platforms, then that would be a very effective way of winning the votes. Right? Or so much about politics. Kaya ko lang yun ginamit as example kasi in trading, it's the same thing. Okay? You look at the markets, you understand how emotions work. That would give you an edge. And what more, or what's the best way of understanding the emotions of people? Hindi mo naman sila pwedeng i-interview isa-isa eh. Like, kunwari, biglang bumulusok yung dito from 19 pesos tapos biglang naging 9 pesos na lang. Okay, nag-flooring. You can't interview people or every participant during that drop on how they felt. Okay? May naalala lang ako, ito side story lang. Naalala ko, I watched a YouTube video of Tom Dante, tapos na-mention niya doon, meron siyang trader na friend wherein ang strategy ng friend na yun is just documenting the emotions of traders around them. Kasi nasa ano sila nasa prop trading firm sila. So it means yung mga kasamahan nila are all traders trading in behalf of the firm. Parang kami sa ZFT Capital, parang ganun. And yun yung ginagawa niya. Ini-interview niya lang yung mga tao, what they feel, especially the losing traders. Tinatanong, anong naramdaman mo? Bakit ka nag-hesitate? Ganito, ganyan. And while understanding those emotions, it gave him an edge. Nagamit niya yun to his advantage. So, you can't interview people, but you can interview yourself. Because you are also a market participant. Okay? So, yun yung yun yung parang advice ko. Document these struggles. Huwag kang mag-settle na parang nasa utak mo lang siya. Okay? Ako, sinabi ko kanina na I grew up suppressing my emotions. It's not suppressing kasi inabuso ako or what. Hindi ganun. No? Maybe it's just the upbringing or ganun lang talaga na wire yung utak ko in a way. Pero because of trading, masabi ko, no, it allowed me to open up myself in a way na I've never done before. It's still a struggle, pero it allowed me to open up. Kasi sabi ko sa sarili ko, if I want to become a good trader, I need to understand both the rational mind and the emotional self. Okay? So yun, I documented sa journals ko, like especially yung 2018, 2019 journal ko. Ngayon, hindi ko na siya masyado ginagawa kasi I'm doing a lot of things. But during that time na hindi pa ako ganoon ka-busy, every trade documented. Yung trade, ganito yung na-feel ko. And I identified patterns and used that. So I know what to improve further sa trading ko. Okay? So yun. Plan objectively, execute objectively. Then once you do those things objectively, the third part is document. And this time, document not just objectively, but document your emotions as well. And I hope from there, magagamit nyo yun to learn more about yourself and hopefully improve yourself as a trader. Okay? So, do you have questions before we end? And sabi ko kasi 1 hour lang yung podcast. Any questions about this topic? About what I said? Ay, ba't nawala yung ano? Ayan. Uy, walang questions. Siguro pagod yung mga tao. Kamusta yung Father's Day nyo? Okay ba? Yan, Happy Father's Day pala sa lahat. No? Happy Father's Day kay wala dito si Badong, pero Happy Father's Day kay Badong. Dami kasing ganap daming ganap dito sa sa TR, 'di ba? Alam. Grabe, araw-araw parang hindi nauubusan. Yung tipong parang one day ka lang hindi ka mag-online tapos pagtingin mo sa pagtingin mo sa Discord, puno na ng kung ano-anong announcement. Parang kanina like sabi ko kasi na lunchtime, so we celebrated Father's Day tapos natulog ako and then nagising ako 8:45 tapos nag-message na sa akin si Ma'am Lerpa. Tanong siya kung meron ba daw Ask GFT. Sabi ko meron naman, may topic akong naisip. Tapos nataga yung oras, 8:45 na pala. Hindi ko na, kaya medyo siya, on the spot announcement. But anyway, ayun nga, no, sana guys, you're enjoying being part of TR, lalo na sa new ones. If na-feel nyo, no, na medyo saturating or napakaraming ganap. Ganun talaga, kasi we want to, we want to make sure na you get the value out of what you invested in this, in this community. Okay? So yan, sabi ni Sir Jose, nagre-reflect daw. And maraming i-reflect. Grabe yung yung mga TIP students ngayon. Siguro grabe yung roller coaster ride nila, like from like emotional side. Yung first modules namin was really more about self. fears, ganon. And then biglang numbers, babad na babad sila sa kung ano-anong numbers na kailangan nilang matutunan from coding to atas ngayon na naman ganito as CFP. 'Di ba? Pero sometimes kasi hindi mo naman kasi talaga need na like really I mean, coming from me most people do not need to like join programs. That makes sense. Parang yun lang yung naging decision nila kasi they feel na some people can help them. Pero ako, masabi ko talaga, if you are struggling, ang kailangan mo talagang gawin is really more of introspection. Okay? Not really asking help. Ang una mong dapat gawin is really introspection. And from your introspection, kung ano man yung parang matututunan mo with yourself, okay, ano yung ikaka-aware mo sa sarili mo, then that's the time you seek help. Kasi it's very difficult to help someone. Ito it's very difficult to help someone. Even if we want to, if sila mismo, they do not understand what's their problem. Or they did not even put effort in reflecting on what's wrong with them or what's wrong with how they think and how they approach trading. Kaya ako, honestly, hindi sa parang ayaw ko, pero when people begin to consult with me, parang alam ko na yung script. Siguro sa dami-dami ng nagpapa-consult even before outside PR. Parang once may mag-message na, boss, ganito yung problem ko, ito yung nangyari, parang ito na naman. So, okay, type. Ano yung advice? Parang meron ng template. If this is how you would approach me, this is my answer. Parang ganun na. If and then na lang. Kasi paulit-ulit lang yung paulit-ulit na yung concerns ng mga tao about trading. Minsan nakakaano na siya, parang hindi naman sa nakakaumay, pero parang ano ba, like you try to really reflect on it first. And again, okay lang na you seek help. Okay? Ako talagang na-appreciate ko when people ask me or look for advice. Pero alam niyo ang always ending, parang ganito guys. Sila lang din yung makaka-realize kung ano yung problem nila. Parang sinasabi ko lang sa kanila, yan yung ginawa mo. So ano sa tingin mo yung problem? And then sasabihin nila, ilalatag nila, I think yung problem ko kasi hindi ko sinusunod plan ko, hindi ako disciplined, so I lack this and that. And then I tell them, alam mo naman pala, yan yung problem eh. So, ano yung kailangan mong gawin about it? Tapos sasabihin din nila, ang kailangan kong gawin about it is ganito, I need to study more, kailangan kong mas magsipag, and everything. So parang sinagot nila yung own yung own concern nila. So maybe parang ang role namin dito, more or less, is not really to give advice, but to, parang kung sa sa stock pa yan na biglang nag-breakout. Diba, bakit ba nagbe-breakout? Diba kasi may catalyst, parang ganun. May disclosure or something. Although we don't read those things sa ZFT system, we don't consider them like how other traders do. Pero we understand na the reason why those big moves happen is kasi something is up, something's happening na hindi alam ng karamihan. May catalyst. So parang that's how we think of ourselves here as trading leaders or as mentors, na we want to be your catalyst. We want to be the trigger kung bakit marami kayong marirealize sa sarili nyo. And alam ko sometimes we say na parang it's because of ER kaya na-improve mo yung trading mo, ganun. Or it's because kay Sir Yuri or kay Sir Jasper or sino ba, kay SJ, sino ba yung mga nakakausap nyo lagi dito na nakakatulong sa inyo. Parang, dahil sa iyo, kaya ko to nagawa. Actually, in a way, it's not because really of them, it's because of you. Mga ang naging role lang nila is they help you realize what you need to do. Okay, so yun. Kaya, to end this session, this podcast, put effort really. in reflecting, introspecting. Alam ko parang corny siya pakinggan or parang hindi namin yan kailangan, sir. Ang kailangan namin is charts. Kailangan namin matutunan how to use Darvas. Kailangan namin ng ano mo, ng strategies mo sa paano mag-handle ng risk or mag-manage ng risk. Lahat 'yun hindi nyo din ma-absorb. Or hindi nyo din siya, I mean, malalaman mo siya in your mind. In theory, you know how to do it, pero hindi mo din siya ma-execute if you don't put effort in introspection. And you don't address itong battle na to, which happens every single trading day. Okay? Ayan, sabi ni Sir Darren, konting tulak lang in the right direction yung minsan na kailangan ng mga tao. Diba? So, ayun. Yun yung ano natin for tonight. Okay? So, no questions? Sige, so if wala tayong questions, I think that's it. I won't keep you long. Alam ko yung iba sa inyo, magpaplano pa kayo sa trades nyo. Ako rin, I'll plan for tomorrow's trades. So, good luck, God bless, and thank you for attending this short podcast.